And then let's get to Harbaugh. What's the latest here? I know what.
I thought you were going to run out the clock on this.
No, I'm not running out of clock. I'm having you as long as you're willing to sit there, Tom. I mean, we've barely scratched the surface here. This is the most insane. That's what I said. The coaching carousel is drunk. It is spun off its axis. And you look out your front window of your house, you're watching it roll down the street. Because this isn't.
This is water. I'm not drunk. Just
So what's the latest with Jim Harbaugh, Tom?
Jim Harbaugh is celebrating, as I'm sure you are still too, Rich.
I am.
On cloud nine for about 4 days here. Jim Harbaugh, during, you got that big chunk of time, right, between the Big Ten title game and the college football playoff. He was definitely, making calls. He was updating staff lists. He was evaluating potential openings. He has continued, from my understanding, to do that through the course of this week. It is certainly in play that Jim Harbaugh could end up in the NFL. We talked about this, I remember, on the show last week. I brought up two teams, the Raiders and the Chargers. I would still bring up those two teams. It certainly seems, just based upon how the processes have gone so far, that the Chargers at this point probably seem like they're more in play for Jim Harbaugh. But when you're talking about a coach of this caliber, I don't think that you take anybody off the table until they ultimately go in a different direction. I think that the other thing to remember with Jim Harbaugh was, the last couple of years, things played out rather publicly. 2 years ago, he interviews twice with the Vikings, including in person for like 6 hours on National Signing Day. And then, through the course of that day, the Vikings realized, this is not a fit. Harbaugh gets on the plane. He tells Michigan, I'm coming back. They hire Kevin O'Connell that night. Last year with Denver, he did the initial Zoom. And then they were like, hey, we want to bring you in for in-person. And Jim was just thinking, why do I have to go and do that? So the Penners ended up flying to go see him a week later. The point is, I think this time around, if Jim Harbaugh is going to get a job, to the extent that they can, they're going to keep it as quiet as possible for as long as possible, right up until the point that Jim Harbaugh is flying there, and if all goes well, he becomes the head coach of the football team. We know that Michigan fans, and I'm sure the administration, are exhausted by this annual exercise. We know that they've had a couple of large contract offers on the table for Jim Harbaugh to keep him at Michigan for the long haul. Jim is always driven by that next mountain to climb. He climbed a really big one, winning a national championship. The one left out there for him is the Super Bowl. He also lives in Ann Arbor, Michigan. I believe his parents have the house behind him, their backyards are connected. He sees them all the time. Is he gonna move to LA right now? As alluring as it is, when it comes right down to it, is he gonna do it? That's really the question here. And we'll see here over the next week or two exactly what direction that goes.
Well, we're resting easily while we're exhausted. You know what I'm saying? This is the previous years was what if he leaves? We haven't done it yet. Everyone's resting easy and celebrating it. Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.